To focus on flooding at a town hall meeting tonight.
Plus, we are beginning to see our dry stretch finally kick off, but we got the heat returning too. Forecast coming up.
All right, and the best of Broadway is honored at this year's Tony Awards.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A 4-state city that's been battling flooding for decades offers a town hall meeting tonight for residents to have their voices heard. This is KOAM News at Noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes, the city of Miami hosts a town hall meeting tonight with one focused in mind: flooding issues. The city, along with 456 property owners, are in the middle of a civil lawsuit with the GRDA, claiming their operation of the Pensacola project caused repetitive flooding for the area, most notably in 2007. Tonight's meeting starts at 7 p.m. at the Coleman Theater and is open to the public. The purpose is to give residents a chance to share their thoughts on the issue. In attendance will also be FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, who will assess relicensing and how the GRDA operates the dam. Well, leaders with Joplin's Connect to Culture say work on the Cornell complex in downtown Joplin is nearing completion. And we got a look yesterday at the facility and the progress so far. Clifford Wirt with the Connect to Culture says the project is about 85% complete and is on track for an official opening in early November. We're finally getting past the rain, but we've got a stretch of something else in the future. Heat. Nick Kelly is in for Michael today with a first look at the forecast.
If we want to look at a different positive way, Tanya, a good chance to dry out
there you
for
go.
Several days. That's something we
Glass
deserve.
half full.
Yes, but for those that like to see things, for lack of an expression, half empty, yeah, we got to crank the heat back up. But at least we're looking good from 7th and Range Line to start this afternoon out, after we had to deal with a good area of rain, even some thunderstorms this morning. Fortunately, with the way things have panned out, Mother Nature kept the worst of the storms off to our southwest and south as we went throughout the course of the morning. And just to make doubly sure, we are not seeing anything right now on the radar network, but with that same disturbance that brought the rain this morning still around, it wouldn't surprise me if Mother Nature threw an additional storm or two later this afternoon. Otherwise, temperatures, they are warming up for sure since we're getting the sun back in action. Mid to upper 70s, Commerce already near 81. With the way things are looking this afternoon, let's maybe see if we can get an additional thunderstorm or two later this afternoon. Otherwise, most of us are dry and everybody's warm, with highs pushing into the mid 80s. Fortunately, once this wave clears out tonight, we're going to stay dry for the nighttime ahead of us, and not to mention a mild night ahead of us with lows back near 66. But like you said, Tanya, heat, it's on the way, and with all this moisture on the ground, several days worth of moisture, it is heat that we're definitely going to feel for the next several days. We'll break down how those numbers pan out with the full forecast here in a bit.
All right, thanks, Nick. Well, something else that's heating up is the summer travel season, and this is expected to be the busiest travel season in years. More than 70% of Americans say they plan on taking at least one trip. But as Chris Van Cleve reports, as prices soar for everything from gas to airfares, travelers are getting hit with some serious sticker shock.
Tatiana White's high school graduation brought family from Georgia, Maryland, and Connecticut to Daytona Beach, Florida.
Did getting here cost you more than you thought it would?
Oh, yeah.
But vacation inflation has them spending more for just about everything. Evelie's cruise came from Hartford.
What was your budget? Where do you think you'll end up?
I mean, I wanted to keep it anywhere between 2,000. I'll probably be close to 4 by the end of this.
Domestic airfare is costing flyers like Cruise 34% more than 2019. Airbnb prices are up 11% this year, and the average hotel room costs nearly $171 a night in May. That's $40 more than a year ago. Rental cars have soared a stunning 70% during the pandemic.
There are just so many expenses that people forget about when it comes to travel. But I do think the biggest pain point for people right now is those car rental prices.
Surging travel demand, coupled with increasing costs being passed on to customers, is stretching travel budgets. NerdWallet's research finds it also is costing more just to do things on vacation. Eating out costs 7.2% more than it did last year. Tickets for movies, theaters, and concerts up nearly 6%. For Leonida Rivera, the real budget killer? That all too familiar pain at the pump.
It's just hard. Like gas, $5, like crazy.
Nearly 43% of Americans say economic concerns are now prompting them to reduce travel or cut their vacation budget.
I was going to go to Antelope Canyon. I was going to do Yosemite, Yellowstone.
We found Sean Sherman topping off his RV with more than $200 of diesel. Work is driving him to New York this time, but the cost of fuel put the brakes on a family road trip.
I just said, look, we're putting it on the back burner for now, and it broke some hearts, but that's the reality.
So what can you do? Book early and be flexible on your travel dates and times when it comes to planning the trip. Think about renting the car first and then finding the hotel and airfare. And speaking of that rental car, it is almost always cheaper to go to a downtown location or somewhere away from the airport because airport locations tend to add fees. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Arlington, Texas.
Well, Come and Go is about to leave some of its Joplin area stores for good. The convenience store chain is selling both its Webb City locations and 4 of its 6 Joplin locations to White Oak Station convenience stores. Company says the service locations no longer align with its long-term plans for expansion and continued store enhancement. The locations at 3434 South Rangeline and 5002 South Main will still remain as Come and Goes. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, the best of Broadway.
Meet the Tony nominee who performed 9 months pregnant. I'm Lee Sheps with a preview of the 75th Annual Tony Awards.
And later, we're making summer's best tomato pie in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. Just a quick note, if your KOAM or Fox 14 signal becomes glitchy over the next week, don't stress. It's a sign of progress. We will be broadcasting from a lower temporary antenna while a crew installs a new, more technically advanced antenna at the top of our tower. It's the final step in our More Power project. And if everything goes according to plan, we'll be back up and stronger than ever by the end of June. Well, the 75th Annual Tony Awards lights up Radio City Music Hall on Sunday. This marks the first full Broadway season since the pandemic, honoring some extraordinary work in unpredictable circumstances. Lee Sheps has more on from some of the nominees, including one who's already taken on a new role.
Mama's little baby like shortening bread.
At 9 months pregnant, actress Kenita R. Miller danced up a storm 8 shows a week in For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough. She's up for a Tony Award Sunday for Best Featured Actress in a Play.
My favorite line is like the last one that I get to say is, I found God in myself and I loved her. I loved her fiercely. To be a part of something that's kind of instilling this mantra in me, I'm like, I just hope that she's absorbing it as well.
Her daughter, Nova Pearl, arrived just days after Miller went on maternity leave from the show, which earned 7 nominations, including Best Revival of a Play. Pulling off this year's season with 34 eligible shows, including MJ the Musical and the internationally popular Six, was a feat after COVID forced the cancellation of countless performances.
Hello, dearies.
Tony nominee and Mrs. Doubtfire star Rob McClure had his show shut down 3 times during the pandemic.
It's not just a celebration of my work or even the work of my show, but the resilience of this community.
While it's stars like Hugh Jackman and Billy Crystal who are nominated, understudies who helped keep Broadway running this season will also be honored.
They will be seen, and they will be heard, and they will be celebrated.
Tony Awards show host Ariana DeBose returns to her roots among the Broadway community after winning an Oscar as Anita in West Side Story.
I don't necessarily feel pressure, but I feel like a tremendous sense of responsibility.
Sunday's show will feature performances from The Music Man and other Tony-nominated musicals, all of it a chance to celebrate the best of Broadway and reach audiences far beyond the footlights. Lee Sheps, CBS News, New York.
The show will also pay tribute to the late legendary composer Stephen Sondheim. You can catch the festivities beginning Sunday night at 6 p.m. on Paramount Plus, followed by the 75th Annual Tony Awards right here on KOAM at 7 p.m. Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
It's time to name a best food by.
tomatoes, and they're about as versatile as they come. Just wait until you see what we're going to make with them.
But first, meteorologist Nick Kelly returns with your complete forecast.
It was nice that we got the bulk of our rain chances out of here after we got past the morning drive. Now we're just focusing on mainly drying things out, something we haven't been able to say for quite some time. But that's because we're finally starting to see a big pattern change get underway. Before we see this upper level ridge building across Texas really take control going into the extended forecast, it was again yet another disturbance pushing along the northwest flow of the jet stream. That's what brought additional rain and some thunderstorms this morning. Fortunately, Mother Nature was kind to us, didn't give us any severe weather to worry about. Thankfully, maybe a random severe thunderstorm warning on the very outskirts of our area near the Kansas Turnpike, but all that really came on through across the vast majority of the area as we rewind the Skywatch storm tracker was just that leftover batch of rain, light to moderate rain, maybe some random claps of thunder, but that was really about it from this morning's rain. For now, it's nice to see it looking dry on the radar network, and thankfully the rain that did come on through didn't amount to much, about ½ an inch on the average, but where the rain really came on down, our very far southwestern counties managed to see estimates go between 1 and maybe up to 2.5 inches of rain. Right now, 7th and range line, that's a nicer looking sky. We were seeing wet roads from this vantage point this morning and a lot of cloud cover up top. But now we're starting to see those peaks of sun return. That's pushing us to 79 with the south-southwesterly wind at 10, and the humidity still a little bit high at 69%. Temperatures around the rest of the region, we are in the upper 70s to almost 80 degrees already, and I still think that we'll top out warm again with highs in the 80s. I'm thinking this time 84 degrees, but as long as this disturbance is still around, I'm not going to rule out maybe a random thunderstorm or two at some point late in the afternoon. But that wave overall clears out as we go throughout the rest of the evening, and as a result, temperatures drop back into the 60s. I'm thinking mid 60s as we go deep into the night and into your Saturday morning. That's around Joplin, but you can make that same case for the entire area for that matter. Temperatures here running a little bit cooler since we're already close to 80 degrees already. Most of us will be in the mid 80s this afternoon. And again, the future track at least has the right idea with what I'm thinking. Maybe a random thunderstorm or two as we go deeper into the afternoon. But once we get past sunset, we're dry for the rest of the night, bouncing back and forth between partly to mostly cloudy skies, sure, but everybody drops back into the mid 60s. Then as that upper ridge really begins to build in, look at what it does with temperatures. While it does keep us dry, it's pushing us back into the upper 80s with the heat indices, making it feel like we're in the lower, if not mid 90s. And for the next several days, it is going to be all about this upper level ridge building in and sticking with us Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you can even argue into Thursday with maybe the slightest chance of a thunderstorm or two by Thursday. But even though this upper level ridge is going to give us a good chance to dry out, we still have quite a bit of saturated ground that has to either evaporate or run off from all the days worth of past rain chances. So as these temperatures heat up into the lower 90s, that's going to make it feel downright muggy, if not hotter. It could feel as hot as 103 with the way things are looking on Sunday, maybe pushing 104 for Monday afternoon, and then 102 as we go into Tuesday. So kind of a good news, bad news deal. A lot of dry time lined up over the next several days, but it's going to heat us up, and we're going to feel that heat. 84 today, 88 Saturday, lower 90s throughout much of next week, Tanya. And can't emphasize enough on the positive note, a lot of dry time that we need, and that's what we're going to get.
All right. Yeah, we do need to dry out, and that hot weather is definitely going to do it. All right. Thanks, Nick. We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Specialist Leland Bolin in the U.S. Army. The soldier from Fort Scott, Kansas, fought in Vietnam from 1968 to 69 and later served tours in both Alaska and Germany. Bolden earned the Cross of Gallantry Medal. To Specialist Leland Bolden, we thank you, our four-state hero. Today's recipe is so fresh, you're going to have a hard time stopping at just one slice. Howard shows us how to make summer's best tomato pie in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
The other day, I was so excited when I saw freshly picked tomatoes at the market. I'm talking about tomatoes that really taste like tomatoes and not ones that just look pretty. So today, I'm naming tomatoes the best food buy of the week. As a matter of fact, for the whole summer. I know we all have a long list of ways to use them, but we came up with a new and sort of unusual way that I want to share with you. We start by whisking together an egg, heavy cream, a bit of mayo, some shredded mozzarella, and some spices. We set that aside for a sec while we slice a handful of ruby red tomatoes and stack them in a par-baked pie crust. Now we pour the cream mixture over them and sprinkle on some Parmesan cheese before popping it in the oven until it passes the toothpick test. When this comes out of the oven all melty delicious, we want to let it cool slightly before digging in. I can promise that's not going to be an easy task. But once you taste how fresh and creamy it is, I know you're going to want the recipe for what we call Summer's Best Tomato Pie. And it's online now. This is the perfect recipe to take advantage of all those freshly picked tomatoes. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a fresh picked way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
Never had it and definitely want to try it. You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4-state market prices.
The upper level wave that brought the rain our way this morning still around, so we can't rule out a few isolated storms late this afternoon. Otherwise, everyone's pretty much dry with highs near 84. Then a prolonged dry stretch will take it, but we got to pay for it with highs in the upper 80s tomorrow and a stretch of lower 90s for much of next week.
What do we have coming up tonight at 5, John?
Well, at 5, this is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, and in Health Watch, we're going to look at common stigmas and misconceptions people have about patients with early-stage Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. Plus, that Auschwitz photography exhibit at PSU, it shows the horrors still left behind from the camp. We're going to hear from some local Jewish members who say it's still important to learn about this dark part of history. And we'll check out some of the items at the Miami City Surplus Sale. Hope you join us for those stories, a whole lot more, of course. It's all coming up on KOAM News at 5.
All right, thank you, Dow, and thank you, Nick. Thanks for joining us for KOAM News at noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.